Hi, everybody, and Happy New Year. Just so happens that our scheduling this year has been on point because we do it every Wednesday. And so we've done a Christmas Day, and now Happy Bloody New Year because this is New Year's Day, this one's going out. So we're hoping that we're going to be catching everybody at the point where the day's just starting to slow down and, you're interested and you maybe had some good debates or maybe you've had enough of those debates. But anyway, one of the things you'll have definitely been talking about over Christmas and getting ready, and maybe today is the day that it starts, is those New Year's resolutions. Now, I know this sounds samey, but there's a lot of evidence to point out that this is a key time that people do make changes. However, title of the podcast is if you always do what you've always done, ... And you know what the ... stands for? You're going to get the same results. So I wonder how many of you listening here have got all these great ideas, these things you want to do and achieve, but what are you going to do differently this time? Because if we're honest, if you're going to do what you did before, it didn't work then, it probably ain't going to work now. So Stephen, when you think about New Year's resolutions or just starting new routines and then doing it in the exact same way that didn't work before, what's the immediate thought that comes to mind for you?
Just as you were saying that, I was smiling because there'll be so many people that this resonates with, and so many people that I talk to while I'm mentoring, where I'm always saying to them, yeah, but how are you going to make sure that this works? How are you going to make sure that you keep to it? And the first thing I'm going to just quickly throw out there, like as a tip, right? And it's about the size of your list, okay?
Yeah.
And it's the first thing I'm going to throw out there, yeah. Do not make your list too long.
Mm-hmm.
Because immediately you're setting yourself up for failure. So the first thing I'm going to say is make sure that you create a list that's, achievable in terms of its size. And I don't know why, I always sort of, whenever I'm thinking about planning and putting things together to achieve, I always look at number threes or fives. And I always think any more than five is just too many, in my opinion. It's just too many things. And any less than three, then what's the point? So 3 and 5 always sounds good to me, and I'm a bit weird, so I don't really go with even numbers when it comes to planning. It's always odd numbers. Don't ask me why. So that's the first thing, the size of your list. And my thing to you out there is don't just go into things the same way that you always go into it. Think about, I really want to achieve this. So what is it that I need to do to make sure that this is going to stick and it's going to work? Mm-hmm. And for me, sometimes it's once you've got the list, it's then working and giving yourself the time to really work out, right, how am I going to achieve this? What do I need to do? By when? Are there other people that I need to get involved to help me, to support me with this particular list? And also the realistic element. And you've all heard about SMART objectives, which is about making sure that they're specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Oh, I remembered. And you've all heard this, and if you haven't, then I've just given it to you, so write it down. But what I would say, sometimes I think we need to be honest with ourselves as well. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I talked about last year on another podcast with Oliver was sometimes we set ourselves up for failure immediately because we're setting ourselves something that's just not achievable for us in terms of where you are in that moment in time. And I'll give you a quick example. So you set yourself a task of being able to do, go to the gym 5 days a week. Okay. What I would say is that's quite a big ask in anyone's schedule. For those sort of intermediate and sort of gym goers at the moment, that's easy. But if you're just going to start doing it, I would be going, no, why don't you just say you're going to try and go, twice a week or 3 times a week at the most. So what you're doing is you're setting something that's realistic that you're going to be able to stick to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing is, it's about this going too crazy. Like you see people go, yeah, I want to lose this much amount of weight. And it's like, just be realistic with it and look at it over a 12-month period. It's much better for your body if you do it gradually. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is before you put something on your list, think about the detail behind it and what you're going to need to achieve it. The other thing, we've talked about this before, buddies are great. Like if you know that 3 times a week at 7 a.m, someone's going to knock on your door and go, come on, off we go. Off we go to wherever. Or someone's going to text you and go, are you ready? Are you going down there? it's more likely that it's going to stick with you. Now, I have a gym buddy, and it definitely works for me. It definitely gives you that extra little. I'm going to make sure that I get that. So they're the first few things I would throw out there. So make sure your list is realistic in terms of its size. Make sure the things you've got on your list are potentially achievable. And also, you know, maybe some of the things you put down there, who have you got around you that can actually help you to stick to that plan? Or come and talk to us. As a mentor, the big thing I'm all about is I make you accountable for whatever it is that you're telling me that you're gonna do. So make you accountable for that. And then the other thing I'll just throw in here as well is, don't beat yourself up if you get to March and maybe you've been a bit overzealous with it. You can adapt the list that you've got. That's the other thing. I see some people really try and keep going through pain and actually adjust it. You know, you said you're going to go 5 days, but now you think now you've gone into it and you realise there's a little bit more to it than that. I'm going to do it for 3 days.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the really key bit, because why have you done it? You've not done it to do it 5 days a week. You've done it to, in this case, improve your health, maybe your strength, cardiovascular, a bit of both. I don't know. That's the aim. So this is about good versus poor goal setting as much as anything, isn't it? Because a lot of people set a goal, which is I want to lose this much weight, or I want to go to the gym this many times. They're not goals. They're just a series of actions. Now, the outcomes of those goals might lead you to the result, but it will be a bit by accident, because you haven't really thought about what is it that I'm looking to achieve here. Why am I wanting to go to the gym? Or why do I want to do X? Why do I want to do Y? And it is to be this bigger, wider goal. So I'm not going to bore you on this episode with something called the GROW model any more than mentioning it, but check out the GROW model. It's very linked to the same sort of thing as SMART. I think SMART is a great way to look at the actions that sit under the goals that go with GROW. But if you Google GROW model, you'll get everything you need to stand. It's an acronym very similar to SMART in that regard, and it just helps you set goals. Now, for me, if you're looking to do things differently, I would love to think that we ended at GROW, but where I would love you to start from my point of view is to rein it in a little bit, rather like Stephen said. And I would love to encourage you to start or restart, if you've already done it, consuming some positive information, whether that's through reading or audiobooks or podcasts. I know a lot of people now are finding the time to listen to and watch videos. Therefore, the time is available. So I would encourage you to prioritise. A great start to the year would be to pick up my old buddy, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and to complement it soon after. And I would encourage you to read that a chapter of a day, which means in 3 weeks you'll have read it or listened to it, and then pick up Atomic Habits to reinforce that. That is 2 things right there that you can do. So if you're listening to Stephen's advice, you've managed to keep the list between 3 to 5 things. If you are then reading this book, you will have started working on those 3 things, and that book, The Slight Edge, over the 3 weeks that things will probably still be quite positive, you will build an idea about the importance of habit and consistency and continue to do it to make sure that you move on beyond that. If you link that with exactly like Stephen said as well, the accountability buddies, the second thing I'd implore you to do is go back to episode 2 of this series where we talk specifically about making things stick. Never is that going to be more important than if you're starting new stuff now. And over time, yes, of course, you can start working towards a proper detailed goal. But for now, let's just look if we can get you into that habit of taking daily action or twice weekly action or whatever the consistency needs to be, and do something different. Just whatever you do. And as a final piece, if we're talking to you and you know you've fallen off the so-called wagon many times before, why? Context is key. Why didn't it work before? As I often say to my clients, there's no such thing as failure. There's just feedback. And the only way you truly fail is if you fail to listen to the feedback. So every time you've managed to stop doing something, there's been feedback from life that's telling you why. And it doesn't mean that that's the end of it. There just will have been a series of circumstances, reasons or otherwise. Like, perfect example, someone going to the gym who hasn't been for a while could easily get an injury. Maybe not a serious one, but one that puts them off. And then the appetite to go back when they worry about recurring injury, understandable. So what would you encourage in this situation? Well, get it found out. Why did it happen? speak to a specialist of some description. There's plenty of them out there. Make sure that it wasn't because of maybe the form you had, or maybe there's an existing injury you didn't know about. Let's do something about it. So if you've thought about, well, I want to go back to the gym, but I'm a bit nervous because I did my back before, there'll be a reason. Find out what it is. And then you're in a far better position because your confidence will grow. And let's be honest, if it is down to poor form and you're not getting the support you need, that's something that can be easily remedied, isn't it? I mean, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about. I did not go to the gym, people, but maybe once in the past it happened. But that's a fair point, isn't it?
No, absolutely. Yeah. And again, it's understanding why something has happened.
Yeah.
And understanding that, we all make mistakes, we all fail, and it's what we do after that. And for me, it's, if you build something into your lifestyle, you're more likely to continue it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you set whatever you're going to do for 2025 and you make it part of your life, it's much easier to achieve it. I think where it's difficult is if you're setting something and you can't build it in. And what I mean by that, if your job means that you're not going to be able to fit that thing in because, you just physically can't, then you need to go, right, do I need to wake up an hour earlier? Do I need to go to bed half an hour later? Yep. Do I need to take some more holiday?
Yep.
Do I need to have a half day off a week? Whatever that is, to make sure that you build it in. Otherwise, guys and girls, it won't work.
No.
It won't work. You'll fall at the first hurdle because it's not built into your everyday.
And that's a beautiful little segue into, completely agree with that, and it makes me just think about the importance of the language that you use, because I can hear people saying, well, I can't get up an hour earlier. Could you go to bed an hour earlier? Do you need to watch that episode of Netflix? Do you need to have that little tipple or nightcap before you go? Do you need to, I can challenge you there, and I'm pretty confident if you sat down with either one of us, we would find you that hour perhaps that you need very easily. And if there is an investment you need to make, I bet you we could sit down, and we're not financial advisors, disclaimer, but I bet you there's something you're paying for now that you don't need. You might value it, but you don't need it. And if there's something that would be better for you, I would question that we divert those funds down that pathway first. That's the priority. And then if you have the income for the thing that you like to have, that's fine. But what about the stuff you need to have to get you on? So, a bit of tough love is probably needed, and a lot of our clients get that. I was only talking to someone this morning about the difference between Stephen and I. We have our different approaches. Mine is a bit more slap round the face, give them, the cold water conversation. You tend to be more, walking with, down the beach, having a nice bit of the sea noise in the background. But either way, the messaging is the same, isn't it? We get it across. Just sometimes mine walk away a bit more bruised, maybe. So it's, horses for courses. If you like a damn good thrashing, you come my way. If you want it a bit more gently, but you're going to be sent down the same path, go Stephen's way. But we can definitely help you with that specifically, and we thoroughly enjoy it because it is a lot about the language you use, and that's the point I was delaying getting to. If you say, I can't get up earlier, well, that is what we would call bullshit, because you can. You're choosing not to. If you're saying, I tried, well, you didn't. You had a go at stuff, and by using the word try, you're kind of justifying it to yourself that, I gave it a go. No, you didn't. You didn't do it. So you either did it or you didn't do it. It's full on Yoda here. Do or do not. There is no try. Okay? Fact. Yoda was wise. And other things like that, the but. I was doing this but. And then it's posh friend. Don't try and get away with this. However, just as bad as but. These are words that need to be eradicated from your life because they're what we call excuse words. And they don't help you. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're not helpful. Use words like I will go to the gym, or I did do this, or I am going to do that. And then if you don't, the fact of the matter is you didn't do it. And then we go into that lovely failure feedback loop. So why didn't we do it? Because I went to bed too late, or because I had too much to drink the night before, or because I felt tired, or because I felt ill. Fine. All fair reasons. So what can we do about that? Well, we can make sure that we go to bed earlier, or maybe we can schedule the time that our day starts. There's so much we can do with the feedback if we're honest with ourselves. But by using the cheat words, which are, trust, like try and can't and so forth like that, we kind of feel like we've had that difficult conversation with ourselves, but there was a good reason why we couldn't do that. It's called bullshit, unfortunately, people. and we will not accept it. And you, more importantly, shouldn't accept it. So lay down the challenge there in the gauntlet. Positive language. Set a reasonable number of challenges for yourself. Consume some positive content that gets you into the right mindset. Look at smarts and look at grow. There's so many things you can do differently this year to make these things stick. And New Year's resolutions are a good idea. There's a lot of science about how important dates, starts of months and starts of years are a really good time. So anyone who tells you New Year's resolutions are a crap idea are just people who failed themselves. This is a cracking time to start stuff. Science backs up that this is a good time, but science also backs up every single thing we've just said. So we were talking about facts in a previous podcast. There's a lot of facts around this one, and I'll throw them down your throat if you want them. You can do this. Let's do this. I'm excited for you. I'm getting more pumped than I thought I would in a podcast, but I hope this has given you the motivation that you needed. I've done enough harm or help, not sure, we'll see. So I'm going to let Stephen absolutely save the day with some purely soft positivity. Over to you, Stephen, to finish the episode.
I just want to finish by saying I do not condone being bruised, okay, after a mentoring or coaching session by Oliver.
Metaphorical bruising, metaphorical.
But what I would say is, it's just a great time to really start the planning process and start thinking about what you want to do. It really is. Especially many of you listening at this will probably be feeling a bit full after your Christmas food and all the things you've consumed. So, really thinking about what this year can do for you. And what I want to leave you with is this statement. So often people say, I have to do. I want you to replace that with, I get to do. And it's a talk that I've done historically. And when people have changed, I get to do, it just makes you feel so much more humble and just makes us all appreciate that there's so much that we get to do and we can do, but we just got to think it and it will happen.
Nice. That's a much nicer way of putting it, Stephen. Thanks very much for saving the episode. No, in all seriousness, I hope that's been useful. You've got some takeaways from that. I'm really excited. Start of the year is always an exciting time for me. It's a real opportunity for people to reframe and refocus. So we look forward to many more. I mean, theoretically, there should be another 51 of these, shouldn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they're coming your way in 2025. So Happy New Year. Let's make it a great year. And we look forward to you listening to the remaining 51 episodes that are to come. See you on the next one.